Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Osman. In this week's episode, a local beach gets a historical designation. The county is hosting its 13th annual Trails Day. And National Police Week begins with a ceremony in Daytona Memorial Park. Later on in the program, Joanne Magley sits down with Judge Raul Zambrano of the Seventh Judicial Circuit. Those segments and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I hope you stay tuned. The Volusia County Council, along with the Bethune Beach Property Owners Association, Bethune-Cookman University, and about 100 residents celebrated the history of Bethune Beach at Mary McLeod Bethune Beach Park in New Smyrna Beach. At the event, a state historical marker was unveiled that designates the Bethune Beach community as a Florida Heritage Site. The markers explain the history of Bethune Beach, which in the 1940s gave African Americans a place of their own when most Florida beaches were closed to them by segregation. After seeing her students turned away from Daytona Beach in the 1940s, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, the Bethune-Cookman University founder, secured investors to create a housing development in the remote enclave. The civil rights crusader and others wanted the resort town to be a space where Black residents could congregate in the sun and sand without fear of harassment. Evelyn Bethune, granddaughter of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, attended the event along with many of her family members and spoke about her childhood days spent at Bethune Beach.
So we have to make sure that everybody is a part of what makes this a great country. Bethune Beach is that place I grew up running up and down all of this dirt. I learned how to swim right out there in the ocean because my grandmother made it possible for us to come and enjoy the beach. Can you imagine a mind that would say, you can't get in the ocean? What kind of brain comes up with that?
The Bethune Beach Property Owners Association spearheaded the effort for the historical marker.
I feel so good about this because now every Bethune Beach resident will know specifically how, when, where, and why this beach was started. It is a beautiful, thriving community now. It will continue to be just that.
In addition to the marker, two interpretive panels created by Volusia County Government historian Tom Baskett, with assistance from Ashley Robertson of the Mary McLeod Bethune Foundation, are also on display at the park. Volusia and Flagler County law enforcement officers who were killed in the line of duty were honored during the National Law Enforcement Memorial Day ceremony at the Law Enforcement and Firefighters Memorial inside Daytona Memorial Park. Bagpipes playing Amazing Grace and the playing of taps were part of the annual ceremony that honored 31 officers from agencies throughout the two counties. A 21-gun salute followed a roll call of the fallen officers and the presentation of a wreath at the memorial. Fallen officers named in the roll call died as far back as 1895 and as recently as the death of K9 Forrest with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office in 2016. Chief Ronald Wright of the South Daytona Police Department and current president of the Volusia and Flagler Police Chiefs Association says this annual memorial event is a somber but important reminder of the daily risks involved with being a law enforcement officer, and said it's important to never forget those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty.
And every man and woman that pins on the badge knows that one day they might not come home. It takes a special kind of person to be that. It takes a special kind of family member to live with that knowledge. When one of our own falls, it's one of us. We're the law enforcement family. We stick together. And that's why we're here today, to remember our fallen ones who gave their all in the service of their community.
The monument's inscription includes the policeman's prayer as well as the firefighter's prayer and the names of all of the individuals from Volusia and Flagler counties who have died in the line of duty. Get your heart pumping and your feet moving as you celebrate Volusia County's growing trails system on National Trails Day, Saturday, June 3rd. Volusia County's Parks, Recreation, and Culture Division will sponsor an outdoor family event from 9 a.m. to noon at Lake Beersford Park in DeLand. The celebration will be set up near the trailhead of the park's 1.8-mile multi-use trail and the county's Spring to Spring Trail. County staff will lead a guided nature hike and walking tour through the picturesque park, while the River to the Sea Transportation Planning Organization will give away free children's bicycle helmets. Vendors and local environmental organizations will have informational displays.
This park kind of lends itself to the event because there's some shade there. There's also a big pavilion. It's great access to a pretty good shaded structure of the Showcase Trail system. So that's a good spot to have this event.
National Trails Day is promoted by the American Hiking Society to promote the importance of trails in the United States. Volusia County's major trail systems are the Spring to Spring Trail and the East Central Regional Rail Trail. Both are works in progress, with new segments being completed almost every year. For more information about Trails Day, you can call Volusia County's Parks, Recreation, and Culture Division at 386-736-5953. Learn more about the county's trail system by going to volusia.org/trails. Drivers living in Volusia County now have a free resource to help improve their safety on the road. Community Information Director Joanne Magley has the story in this week's Volusia Here and Now.
Can you turn your head without any problems? And do you normally check your blind spot before you shift lanes?
Yes.
In that manner? Okay, perfect.
The police department in the small town of Ponce Inlet recently became the first and only police department in Volusia County to offer the CarFit program to seniors. CarFit is a national education program developed by AAA, AARP, and the American Occupational Therapy Association, and is designed to give a quick, comprehensive check on how well a mature driver and their vehicle work together.
Now you can see my eyes, correct?
Yes.
I can see yours, so you're good. Your steering wheel's in the right place.
Officer Greg Futch is one of 3 Ponce Inlet police officers certified in the CarFit program.
We went through the training. Didn't know a whole lot about it at the onset, but went through the training and learned a lot of things that we weren't aware of as far as elderly drivers and the importance of learning how to have their vehicles work for them, both in the way they fit into the vehicles and how they use the instruments and set their steering wheels and mirrors, and all of it's designed to make it more safe for them to drive and make it more enjoyable.
The goals of the program are to help fit mature drivers to their vehicles, while at the same time promoting conversations about driver safety. The CarFit assessment takes about 20 minutes, and Officer Futch stresses it's not a test.
What we do is we give them a little insight on how the newer cars' instruments work, because a lot of these people, believe it or not, they buy a car off the dealer lot, and it's still, the seat's still set and all the controls are still set the way it was at the dealership. And they don't really understand how to make those adjustments. And so we kind of help them understand a little bit more about that. If there are people that have difficulty getting in and out of the vehicle, there are some resources and tools available to help them with that, and we identify those for them, things like that. Okay, how's that? Still see your gauges?
Oh yeah, I can see my gauges.
Eleanor Semino of Port Orange recently participated in the free program that's available to drivers throughout Volusia County through the Ponce Inlet PD.
Oh, the officer was very comforting. He was precise in what he was telling me, and I would highly recommend it for any senior person, anybody who thinks they know everything about their car. I didn't know about the placement of my steering wheel. The adjustment of my seatbelt was comfortable for me.
Eleanor came to the police station for the assessment, but Officer Futch says the Ponce PD will take the CarFit program right to the driver.
Because of our position, a position of trust with the community, that we can take it to their homes rather than have them come here. A lot of people are a little bit more comfortable in doing it in their own environment rather than someplace away from home, and so we feel like that might be beneficial for us to attempt as well.
Anyone interested in the free CarFit program can contact the Ponce Inlet PD at 386-236-2160.
And what would you say to anybody else, any of your friends or other older drivers about this type of program?
Oh, do it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
For Volusia Here and Now, I'm Joanne Magley.
Take the summer off. From fertilizing, that is. Volusia County's summertime fertilizer ban begins June 1st and continues through September 30th. During this time, residents and lawn care companies may not apply nitrogen or phosphorus to lawn and landscape plants. Fertilizer runoff can cause algae blooms and fish kills, spoiling the beautiful waterways that are a major source of recreation. The Volusia County Council passed the fertilizer ordinance in 2014 in order to protect the county's springs and surface waters, particularly the Indian River Lagoon, where algae blooms and animal deaths have raised concerns in recent years. The ordinance applies to all homes and businesses except those in Daytona and DeBary, which have their own fertilizer ordinances. Gardens and composts are exempt.
A whole bunch of science on this coming out of the University of Florida now, and you can access our office and get that kind of information and learning where the right plants to put in, how about the right amount of fertilizer at the right time of year. That's why something as important as this ban really needs to be paid attention to.
The application of fertilizers containing nitrogen or phosphorus is prohibited from June 1st through September 30th of each year. Fertilizer may not be applied within 15 feet of water bodies. The application of fertilizers containing phosphorus is prohibited unless a soil or plant tissue deficiency is verified. Fertilizer containing nitrogen may be applied only between October 1st and May 31st and must contain at least 50% slow-release nitrogen.
Now really take that serious and think about what are the ways that we address a fertilizer ban. And people say, well, won't my lawn turn terrible? Well, no. There are ways to address that. First of all, are you composting? Do you have compost? No one said you can't use compost on your lawn. Those organic matters are low in the soil. That's part of the problem. And the soil additions like that, even some of the ones that have iron in them, will iron up the soil and turn it green much better than you might think. Those things are not in the ban. We're talking about fertilizer here because it just simply runs off and goes into the bodies of water. Florida-friendly landscape is a great thing because these plants are the plants that don't require a whole bunch of extra water or fertilizer. They do really well and they're easy to maintain in your yards.
And maybe one of the simplest things is to not bag your lawn clippings.
Yes, absolutely. People don't think about that. They think, well, what about all the clippings that come off? Well, that's, in a way, organic matter that turns right back into fertilizer as it rots, and so why would you bag all that and carry it away?
Local garden centers offer a variety of summer-safe yard products to help keep landscapes green and growing throughout the summer. Look for fertilizers that start with 2 zeros, such as 006 on the label. These do not contain nitrogen and phosphorus. For more information about fertilizer use and soil testing, you can call the University of Florida Volusia County Extension Office at 386-822-5778, or you can visit volusia.org/fertilizer.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. that bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
And now it's time to go into the studio with the Director of Community Information, Joanne Magley, and her guest, Judge Raul Zambrano of the Seventh Judicial Circuit.
Thanks, Amber. On May 17th, a very special graduation ceremony took place at the Athens Theater in DeLand. It wasn't high school or college students, but adults who have undergone months of rigorous effort to break their drug habit. So our guest in the studio today is Circuit Court Judge Raul Zambrano, one of the judges who presides over drug court programs in Volusia County. Hi, Judge.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks for being here. So give us a little bit of background on drug court and what exactly it is.
Drug court is a court-supervised treatment program whereby the court acts as the leader of a team that manages individual participants who come through the system. Usually the team is comprised of the Department of Corrections, probation officers, treatment providers, as well as court officers.
So give us a scenario. Somebody comes to drug court because, or somebody comes into the system because they've had a, they've been arrested for a violation, some violation of drugs. So what determines if they're a good candidate for the drug court program, and then what happens next?
A screening process goes into place immediately. There are different levels of needs, as you may imagine. Some folks may have pick up a simple charge of possession and be offered what is called a level 1 program, whereby they can go directly through Stewart Marchment, and if they manage to complete that program, they never become involved in drug court. Drug court is for more individuals who are suffering from a greater degree of needs. These are people who can't stop using under any circumstances. They commit a number of crimes, not necessarily drug-related, usually theft, burglaries. Those are the type of crimes that we see involving drug court. Once a screening process goes into place to make sure we don't take violent offenders, then the individual is accepted into the program.
Okay, so once they're accepted into the program, what's expected of them? Because I know they have to successfully complete this program, or they will face possible jail time.
Yeah, there are 4 phases to the program. Initially, in phase 1, there is intense treatment, which includes random urine analysis on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, at times even more than a weekly basis, twice a week, 3 times a week, depending on the individual's needs. They also have to attend a number of treatment sessions, including individual treatment and group treatment therapy, and they also have to participate in a number of other requirements that the court may have. Restitution is paramount. That is, no victim will ever be left owed any money from a participant of drug court.
So you have a very successful graduation rate with the program. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, to get to graduation, you have to go through all 4 stages of the program. It is not easy to go through the entire program. Many people fail through the program, but for those who do make it, they have achieved a level of proficiency in their own lives that now get enough and sufficient tools to go forth in life, managing whatever cravings or individual needs that they may have. To get to us through the stage 4, it even includes being employed. So that's one of the requirements of the program. So once they get to phase 4, and they have had a number of clean days in the program and managed to satisfy all the other requirements, such as payment of restitution, then they're eligible for graduation.
So you've been presiding over cases involving drugs and crimes for many years. What differences have you seen over the years from when you first started sitting on the bench till today? Different types of crimes, different types of drugs. What's the difference between then and now?
There's been an evolution with drugs. And an evolution in the way that we think and how to deal with drugs. I was a prosecutor back in the 1990s, and At that time, even back in the 1980s, the mentality was that we can incarcerate our way out of this problem. That proved to be wrong. And then sometime thereafter, in the 1990s, there was the development of drug courts, where the courts decided to take more of a hands-on role on the treatment side of it, performing really a social function, which is non-traditional to courts. And then in doing that, it was discovered that providing an intense setting of structure and supervision of an individual, you could have some degree of success in getting this individual to come off drugs. As far as the drugs themselves, they have evolved immensely. I mean, it used to be at a point in time where cocaine was the big drug of choice, and then once the opiates came into play, cocaine was something that you hardly would ever see as a crime. And then now the synthetic drugs are just taking over. Everything from flakka to methamphetamines and the like. That's what we see nowadays.
So with the drug court, you know, it's not just the person who is the offender who is whose life is being affected. There's family and there's friends, and so I imagine that going through a successful program where you're diverting somebody from jail and really helping them turn their life around, I imagine that that's pretty impactful for everybody involved.
You know, it affects those individuals tremendously and their families, but whenever they achieve the level of graduation, you can see the relief and the accomplishment, the sense of accomplishment, the sense of worth that they have. I've had participants who come to me, and family members of participants who come to me and say, you know, my child wouldn't be alive but for this program. And they're big believers in it because they've seen the results of it. So it is a program that directly impacts not only the community, but the individuals who are into the program.
You were telling me earlier about certain cases that kind of stick in your mind. Tell us about some of them that come to mind.
You know, each of these folks is an individual, and their lives, history and backgrounds are so varied, as you would imagine. And as part of the screening process, we go through a process of determining who might make it and who may not make it because of a history of continuous use or continuous commissions of crimes. And I had one in particular, a young lady who I was convinced beyond a doubt that she would never make it. And I told her so. And throughout this program, she just proven me wrong. After so many years of being unable to stay clean, seemingly she was able to pull it together and be able to graduate, and she'll be one of our graduates, and she's one of the ones that went through the graduation.
That's awesome. So how long typically does the program take for an individual?
A typical sentence is 2 years probation. I think if everything went perfect for an individual, roughly about a year would reach him to that graduation level. We have many participants who go beyond the 2 years, 3 years, and so forth. And like I said, each one is different in their own right. Some of them progress rather rapidly, and some of them struggle. A component of drug court sometimes is inpatient drug treatment, and that could add time to the treatment process.
So what happens after they've completed the program? Is there another probationary period, or when are they, I guess, free and clear to just start, you know, living a healthy life again?
Yeah, that's as far as an aftercare program, I think is what you're asking me. We don't have an aftercare program for drug courts at this point in time, not in Volusia County. So once their sentence is completed, depending on the nature of the offense, usually that's the end of supervision by the court and the end of supervision by the Department of Correction of the state. Thereafter, we do monitor them to obtain data to see how successful we have been and provide that data to media outlets to show the fact that drug courts in fact do work. 67% of all of our participants never picked up any offense for 2 years after graduation.
That's
and we've
great.
monitored this program for 21 years, so we have statistics that date back that far.
So we mentioned at the beginning of the program that you just recently had one of your ceremonies. So walk us through what one of the drug court ceremonies is like.
You know, it's like watching a rebirth of a human being. These are folks who you'll become emotional in expressing their own individual life stories and their path through life up until that moment. And like I said, is very eye-opening in the sense that you see a broken down human being being reborn and experiencing a whole new level of enjoyment of life that they never had before. And that is very satisfactory to the court to see that we have a direct impact on a life, not only improving it by getting this person off of drugs, becoming a productive member of our society, but at the same time reducing the likelihood of recidivism. You know, each of these individuals untreated would wreak havoc in our society.
Mm-hmm. And that by them averting a jail sentence, it then saves the taxpayers money by less people having to go through the system.
There's no doubt. Studies have shown that for every federal dollar that is invested into drug courts, local governments save up to $4 in having to incarcerate these individuals and provide for them, for their needs, for the level of time that they're incarcerated.
So if anybody that's watching wants to find out more about the drug court program or services through the court system, what do you suggest?
There's no doubt that there's a mother or a father or a brother or sister, a husband or a wife out there seated and having to deal with a loved one who's suffering from drug addiction. There's a lot of help that is available. There's a lot of help that the court can provide. First and foremost is that you can go to the courthouse and fill out a Marchman Act. And in that scenario, a judge would be able to take a look and discuss with the individual who's the subject of the Marchman Act to see whether or not they're in need of services. And the court can order those services to be provided. When it gets to the drug court level, usually that means someone has been in contact with the criminal justice system, law enforcement. And the best thing you can do as a parent or a loved one of someone who's suffering is not to become an enabler. Mm-hmm. You know, push them through the treatment. Treatment is proven to be successful. You know, treatment takes time. And I think a lot of times parents, especially parents, mm-hmm. Tend to be overly protective of their children. But drugs kill. I mean, there's no doubt about right. that. And the drugs nowadays are more powerful than ever. Without help, most people can't make it.
So Judge Zambrano, thank you so much for being here today and talking about the success of drug court.
My pleasure.
Amber, back to you.
Thanks, Joanne, and thank you too for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Osmond, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.